We're going to step into a time when light was not something you clicked on, but something you prepared, something you saved, something you carried like a gentle responsibility. If you like cozy, boring history for sleep stories, quiet routines, everyday crafts, and soft, old-world calm, subscribe and let's settle in. Because tonight's topic is the humble rushlight and the candle calm that followed it around like a warm shadow. What a rushlight is without making it loud. A rushlight is one of the simplest lamps people ever made. Not a wax candle, not an oil lantern, not a fancy thing. A rushlight is a dried plant stem, usually rush, sometimes similar reeds, used as a wick. It's dipped or rubbed in fat, then lit. The flame is small, steady in a shy way, and it doesn't pretend to be brighter than it can be. In older rural homes, especially where candles were expensive or saved for special days, rushlights were daily light. They were the working light, enough to see your hands, enough to cross a room without bumping into everything, enough to finish one more small task before bed. And that's already a kind of calm, because when light is limited, you do fewer things. You move more slowly. You choose what matters. The plant. Rushes from wet places. Now imagine where rushes grow. Damp ground, pond edges, marshy fields, riverbanks. Places where your shoes sink slightly and the air smells green and wet. In summer or early autumn, someone cuts rushes and bundles them. They choose long, straight stems. They dry them in the loft or under the eaves. Later, often in winter when dark comes early, they prepare the rushes into lights. You can almost feel the seasonal logic, gathering in bright months so you can have light in dark months. Peeling the rush, the quiet craft step. A rush stem isn't used exactly as is. Traditional rushlights often involve peeling away most of the green outer skin, leaving a thin strip intact along one side like a spine. That strip helps the stem hold together, while the inner pith acts as the main wick. It's delicate work, but simple once learned. Picture hands at a table by a small window. A bundle of dried rushes lies nearby. A knife, small, careful. The outer skin is drawn away in long strips, and the pale inner pith is revealed. The room smells faintly vegetal, like hay and riverbank. This is not frantic craft. It's repetitive and soothing. Peel, turn. Peel, set aside. Peel, turn. Fat, turning food into light. Not always the elegant kind. Often it's whatever the household has. Tallow from animal fat, bacon drippings, kitchen grease saved in a crock. In a world where nothing is wasted, even the leftovers of cooking can become illumination. The fat is warmed until it's soft enough to soak into the rush. The rush is dipped or rubbed, then set aside to cool. Some households made many at once and kept them in a bundle, ready for use. And this is where the story becomes very cozy. The same hearth makes dinner, also makes tomorrow's light. The rushlight holder, a little iron beak. Rushlights burn down quickly, so you need a way to hold them at an angle, keep them safe, and adjust them as they shorten. Many regions used a simple rushlight holder, often a small iron stand with a clamp or beak. It grips the rush and holds it over a tray to catch drips of melted fat and falling ash. The holder is humble and practical. It doesn't have to be pretty. It has to keep the flame from tipping into straw bedding or cloth. And it becomes part of the evening scene. A small flame leaning slightly forward, as if listening. The light itself is soft, local, and honest. A rushlight doesn't flood a room. It makes a small pool of light. It illuminates hands, not corners. It brightens a tabletop, not the ceiling. Shadows remain. The room stays mysterious around the edges, as rooms often are when you're sleepy. That is part of its magic. It creates enough light, and enough makes everything slow down. People did quiet tasks by rushlight, mending a tear, carving a spoon, sorting beans, winding thread, reading a few lines if their eyes were good, checking a latch, saying a final prayer, putting children to bed. And then the rushlight burns down, and the day ends naturally. The light itself sets a boundary. When it's gone, you stop. Candle calm is a slightly different mood. Candles, especially beeswax, could be expensive, fragrant, bright, associated with church, ceremony, holidays, or special evenings. Tallow candles were more common, but still cost labor. So many households used rushlights for ordinary nights and saved candles for times when they needed longer light, sickness, childbirth, important work, guests, holy days, or deep winter stretches when you couldn't afford to waste time. And the result is a culture where light is meaningful. Lighting a candle is not casual. It's an act. It's a decision. And decisions, when made slowly, can feel very calm. A sleepy ending image. Now let your mind rest in a small scene. It's evening in a simple cottage. Outside, wind moves through bare branches. Inside, a rushlight is clamped in its iron holder. The flame is small, golden, slightly uneven, but steady enough. On the table, someone's hands move slowly with needle and thread. A mug of something warm steams faintly. The walls are dim. The roof creaks once. But the room is safe. The rushlight shortens, almost unnoticed. The pool of light shrinks a little. Work slows. Words become fewer. The body recognizes the signal. Night is arriving. And when the flame finally goes out, there's no harsh darkness. There's a gentle quiet, a gentle decision made for you by time and fat and plant fiber. You don't have to keep going. You don't have to stay bright. You can let your day burn down politely, like a rushlight. And we'll continue from here.
In the home, a flame is practical. It helps you see. It helps you finish work. It helps you move safely. But in churches, chapels, shrines, and small prayer rooms, a flame becomes something else. It becomes meaning. Tonight we'll step into a colder, quieter space, stone floors, high ceilings, hushed breath, and watch how candlelight shaped emotions, awe, comfort, humility, and that gentle feeling that the night is larger than one household. Why sacred spaces loved beeswax. In many Christian traditions across medieval and early modern Europe, beeswax candles were preferred for religious use when available. Part of it was practical. Beeswax burns cleaner and steadier than many tallow candles, with less smoke and smell. In a space where many candles might burn at once, that matters. But part of it was symbolic, too. Wax was associated with purity, effort, and the sweetness of the hive. It arrived through the labor of bees, creatures that seemed orderly, communal, and mysterious. So beeswax became the best light, often reserved for the best place. Meanwhile, tallow remained common in homes and workspaces, honest, necessary, and sometimes smoky. That difference itself created hierarchy, sacred light and household light. Candle offerings, small gifts of brightness. In many Christian traditions across medieval and early modern Europe, people brought candles to churches as offerings. Sometimes a family paid for a candle to burn for a certain intention: gratitude, remembrance, prayer. Sometimes guilds and towns kept altar candles bright on feast days. This made light into a kind of public generosity. A flame could represent a remembered person, a hope for healing, thanks for a safe return, a prayer for good weather, a marker of a holy day. Even if you weren't deeply religious, candlelight in a church could still feel soothing. Someone, somewhere, has kept a flame going for meaning. The architecture of candle calm. Churches amplify candle calm through space. Stone walls reflect light softly. Vaulted ceilings disappear into shadow. The flame doesn't illuminate everything, it creates islands. Columns become silhouettes. Faces are lit from below, gentle and uneven, like an old painting. This partial light encourages silence. It makes people speak quietly. It makes footsteps sound louder, so you walk softer. It slows you down automatically. It's the same calming effect as a rushlight at home, only scaled up, made solemn by echo and stone. Smell. Wax, cold stone, and incense. If you've ever been in a candlelit stone building, you know the smell. Wax, cool air, perhaps faint incense, old wood and masonry dampness held at bay by warmth. That smell is one reason candlelit churches feel like time travel. It's not a modern smell. It belongs to centuries of repetition. The same flame, the same stone, the same quiet. Scent is memory. Wax scent makes the mind soften. Darkness around the light. Candlelight is powerful partly because it leaves darkness intact. Modern lights erase shadows. Candlelight negotiates with them. It says, "I'll illuminate what matters, and the rest can remain quiet." In a sacred space, that's perfect. You don't need to see everything. You need to feel that the world is bigger than your immediate concerns. A small flame in a large dark room teaches humility without any harsh lesson. Home versus church, two kinds of night. Now imagine the contrast. At home, rushlights and tallow, held low, aimed at hands and bowls, burned with practical thrift. At church, beeswax, taller candles, organized arrangements meant to be seen, meant to be contemplated. Both are calm, but home calm is cozy, church calm is spacious. And many people experienced both in the same week, maybe in the same day. The contrast gave rhythm to life. Ordinary light for ordinary tasks, special light for special thought. A sleepy ending scene. Now let's end with a gentle, quiet picture. It's evening. Snow or rain sits outside under a dark sky. Inside, a small stone chapel, a few candles burn. They are not bright in a modern way, but they are enough to warm the air emotionally. A person steps in, closes the door softly, and sits for a few minutes in the back. Their breath is quiet. Their hands are still. They watch the flame. The flame wavers slightly, then steadies. The wax glows. A small drip forms and hardens. Time slows into something soft. Nothing needs to be solved in this moment. Nothing needs to be done. It's enough to sit and let the candle exist. and you can borrow that for sleep. Let your thoughts become the dark room. Let one small, steady breath be the candle. Watch it. Let it mean nothing more than you are here, and it is safe to rest. The flame doesn't rush, so you don't have to rush. And when you're ready, you can let the candle dim in your mind and let sleep take its place. Quiet, wide, and gentle.
A rushlight is simple, but it still asks for one thing: fuel. And in many older homes, fuel wasn't bought in neat packages. It was gathered quietly from daily life, saved in small quantities, stored carefully, used with respect. Tonight, we'll follow one of the most ordinary objects in the whole story: a grease crock by the hearth. Not glamorous, not ceremonial, just a jar of saved drippings that turned dinner into light. The grease crock, a household habit. Imagine the kitchen corner of a small cottage. The hearth is used every day. A pot hangs on a hook. Bread bakes when flour is available. Soup simmers. Meat, when there is meat, is salted, smoked, or cooked slowly. And after cooking, something remains: fat. Not always much, sometimes only a spoonful, but spoonful by spoonful, day by day, fat becomes enough to do another job. So households kept a crock or small pot where drippings were poured. It might sit near the hearth, warm enough that the grease doesn't turn rock hard, but not so close that it becomes rancid faster. A simple lid might cover it. A cloth might be tied over the top. This is the quiet economy of survival. Nothing wasted, everything given a second purpose. Tallow, drippings, and whatever we have. There were different fats, different smells, different burn qualities. Tallow, rendered animal fat, was common and useful, though it could smoke and smell stronger. Bacon drippings were prized in some places because they were available more often than big chunks of fat. Kitchen grease might be a mixture, whatever fell off pans and pots over time. People knew the differences the way they knew weather, by scent, by color, by how it behaved when warmed. Some fats burned cleaner. Some made more smoke. Some went rancid quickly and were better used soon. But even imperfect fat could still do the job of giving a small flame for a short time. Rushlights don't demand perfection. They demand enough. Evening prep. Soft heat, slow work. Now imagine the evening routine. The room is dimming. Outside, light fades fast. Someone brings the grease crock closer to the fire, not into flame, just near coals. The fat begins to soften, not boiling, not sizzling, just turning from cloudy firm to clear and glossy. The smell changes slightly, warm, heavy, familiar. It is the smell of a kitchen at rest. On the table lies a bundle of dried rushes. Some are peeled and ready, pale inner pith showing. Others still have green-brown skin. A small knife rests nearby. Hands move slowly. Peel a rush, warm the fat, dip the rush, let it drip, lay it to cool. And while that happens, conversation tends to soften because the light you are making is already telling you night is coming. Dipping versus rubbing. Different households handled rushlights differently. Some dipped the rush quickly, coating it. Some rubbed softened fat into the pith with fingers or cloth, working it in gently. Some did a quick dip and then a second pass to thicken the fuel layer. The goal was to get enough fat into the rush to burn steadily without dripping too wildly. A rushlight is small, And so is the technique. Small adjustments learned over years. This one's too wet. Let it cool longer. This is too dry. Dip again. Trim the end so it catches easier. Storage, bundles like dry firewood. Once prepared, rushlights were stored in bundles, tied together, hung up, or kept in a box where mice couldn't reach. They're light, fragile in a way, but useful. Some people kept them near the hearth so they stayed slightly pliable. Others kept them higher and drier. Either way, the household knew where the light was, because light is safety. If you wake at night, if a child cries, if wind rattles the door, you want a flame within reach. The holder and the drip tray. When a rushlight burns, fat can drip. That's why many holders include a small tray. The tray catches drips and ash, keeping tables safer and reducing fire risk. And in a very practical household, drips weren't always discarded. Some could be scraped up later and returned to the grease crock. Yes, light recycling itself. It's a calm little loop. Cook, save drippings, make light, save drips, make more light. Candle calm starts here, too. Even candle making begins with this same habit. To make tallow candles, you need enough rendered fat. That means saving, collecting, rendering, and clarifying. Rushlights are the everyday version. Candles are the save up and make a batch version. So the grease crock is the humble beginning of both rushlight and candle worlds. And it creates a gentle psychological feel, a sense of preparedness, a sense that even the smallest leftovers can build tomorrow's comfort. A sleepy ending scene. Now let the scene become quieter. The last rush is dipped, the bundle is tied, the grease crock is covered again. Someone wipes their hands and sets the knife down. A rushlight is lit in its holder. The flame is small, but it's enough to guide the last movements of the evening. Closing shutters, checking the latch, pulling blankets straight. Then the room settles. The rushlight burns down slowly, making shadows drift. And as it shortens, you can feel the pace of the house slowing with it. There's no need to do more than necessary. Light itself is telling you to rest. In your own room tonight, you can borrow that feeling. You don't need endless brightness. You only need enough. Enough warmth, enough quiet, enough breath. And like a small rushlight flame in a calm cottage, you can let your days soften and burn down gently into sleep.
Rushlights are humble and practical. Tallow candles are reliable and common. But beeswax candles, when a household could get them, belonged to a different mood entirely. Not because they were flashy, but because they were clean. A beeswax candle tends to burn brighter, steadier, and with less harsh smoke. It holds its shape well. Its drip is smoother, and it carries a faint scent, sweet, warm, almost like dried flowers and honey. Tonight we'll move into that beeswax atmosphere, the quiet prestige of a clean flame, and the calm it brought to rooms where darkness arrived early. Why beeswax felt special? Beeswax comes from work inside a hive, work that humans do not fully control. You can keep bees, yes, but bees still decide their own rhythms. Wax arrives slowly as comb is built. So wax is naturally valuable. Many households used beeswax for church and religious ceremonies, special family events, weddings, births, funerals, guests, and important evenings, moments when clean light mattered, like careful sewing or reading. Tallow could be made from slaughter and rendering. Rushlights could be made from wetland plants and kitchen drippings. Beeswax asked for patience, skilled, and often trade.
So lighting a beeswax candle was a small statement. Tonight is worth a cleaner light. The clean flame feeling. There's a visual calm to a beeswax candle. The flame is often steadier. The wax body is smoother. The candle doesn't slump as quickly. And because the smoke is reduced, the whole room feels lighter, less heavy. In a low-ceilinged cottage with a hearth already producing some smoke, that mattered. A cleaner candle didn't add extra soot to rafters. It didn't make eyes sting as much. It didn't coat textiles with as much residue. So beeswax wasn't only luxury, it was air comfort. The quiet economy behind it. Even if beeswax candles were precious, people still found ways to use them wisely. They might light beeswax early in the evening when tasks required clarity, then switch to a rushlight later. Or they might light one beeswax candle and place it carefully where it could illuminate a whole table, so multiple people could work in its radius. They might also save stubs carefully. A beeswax stub was not trash. It could become a new candle, melted and remolded, a wax seal for small repairs, a fire helper for starting stubborn kindling, a coating for thread or cord to make it smoother and more water-resistant. Wax is a multi-purpose material. Light is only one job. Candle molds and simple making. Some candles were dipped repeatedly, wick into wax, layer by layer. Others were poured into molds. The methods varied with region and era. Either way, candle making is slow. It's repetitive. It's quiet work done at a table with bowls and strings. It's exactly the kind of gentle production that fits a sleep series. Imagine the scene. A pot of wax warmed near coals, a wick string held taut, a careful dip, then cooling, then another dip. The candle grows thicker like a tree ring forming. And the smell, soft honey, warm summer stored for winter nights. Rushlight versus beeswax, two kinds of calm. Rushlight calm is about limitation. A small light means small tasks and early rest. Beeswax calm is about cleanliness and steadiness. It lets you work longer without the room feeling dirty or smoky. It makes reading possible. It makes delicate craft easier. It makes the home feel finished, even if it is simple. Both create calm, just different flavors. The social meaning of better light. Light changes social life. With rushlights, people gather close because the pool of light is small. That closeness can be cozy and quiet. With a beeswax candle, the pool of light expands. You can see faces more clearly. You can sit a little farther apart. Small gestures become visible. A room feels more open. That visibility can change mood. It can make a winter evening feel less like huddling and more like gentle community. And that, too, is comforting. A sleepy ending scene. Now let's end with the scent, because scent is one of the easiest paths into sleep. Imagine a winter evening. The hearth is low. The room is tidy. Someone lights a beeswax candle and sets it in a simple holder. The flame steadies quickly, and a faint, honey-warm scent rises, soft, almost edible. Hands work calmly by that light. A book is opened for a few pages. A letter is read. A seam is stitched neatly. No smoke curls into the rafters. The room feels lighter. Outside, darkness presses close, but inside, the candle makes a clean island. And when the task is finished, the candle is not wasted. It is snuffed gently, the wax is saved. The calm remains. You can let your own day be like that. A small, clean flame. A soft scent of warmth. Then darkness, not harsh, but gentle and deserved. A rushlight, by itself, is just a thin stem with fat in its fibers. It wants to fall over. It wants to burn down quickly. It wants to drip. It wants, if you let it, to introduce small chaos into a house made of wood, straw, cloth, and dry kindling. So the rushlight needs a partner, a holder. And tonight, we'll stay with that partner, the modest iron stand that turns a fragile flame into a safe, usable light. It is one of those old household technologies that looks small, but quietly changes everything. The problem: fire is useful and unforgiving. In old homes, fire is everywhere. In the hearth, in the oven, in the cooking pot, in the rushlight, in the candle, and in the embers kept for morning. It's normal, but it's also a constant risk. A tipped flame can catch a straw bed. A drip of fat can land where it shouldn't. A careless sleeve can brush a wick. So people didn't treat fire casually. They built habits and tools that made fire behave. The rushlight holder is one of those tools. The beak clamp. Many traditional rushlight holders have a clamp that looks like a bird's beak, two jaws that pinch the rush. It grips firmly, but gently enough not to crush the stem completely. Sometimes the beak is adjusted by hand, sometimes by a small screw, sometimes by a springy bend in the iron. The rush is held at a slight angle. That angle matters. It encourages a steady burn and helps drips fall the right way, toward the tray, not toward your lap. It's a small mechanical decision that creates calm. The stand: low, heavy, hard to tip. Rushlight holders are often low and weighted. Some have 3 legs. Some have a flat base. Some are designed to sit on the hearthstone or thick wooden table. The goal is simple. Don't let the light become a falling hazard. A low center of gravity makes the whole thing feel stable. Even if someone bumps the table, the holder is less likely to topple. And because the tool is iron, it doesn't burn easily, and it can handle heat. In a world where furniture is often wood, and floors can be covered in straw, iron is a quiet kind of safety. Trays and drip pans. Because rushlights use fat, they can drip. Old holders often include a small pan beneath the clamp. Some pans are shallow dishes. Some are just a bent iron plate. But the purpose is always the same: catch what falls. The drip tray does 3 jobs: protects surfaces from grease and flame, reduces smell and mess, lowers fire risk. Sometimes ash and drips are scraped out later. Sometimes a household might even reclaim hardened fat, adding it back to the grease crock. And again, the theme returns: nothing wasted, nothing left dangerous. Adjusting as it burns. Rushlights burn down. As they shorten, the flame moves closer to the clamp, and the burn angle changes. So part of the rushlight routine is adjustment. You might picture someone in the evening. They sit, mending cloth. The rushlight burns down slowly. Every so often, they lift the beak, slide the rush forward a little, and clamp it again. Then they return to their stitching. This movement becomes unconscious, like turning a page. It's gentle, repetitive, and oddly calming. In the same way a candle wick is trimmed, a rushlight is advanced. Quiet maintenance. Where the holder lives. The holder often has a home spot in the house, near the hearth, on a shelf, hung from a wall peg, placed where it can be reached easily in the dark. Because the holder is not just a stand, it's part of the household's night system. When you wake to a strange sound, you don't want to search for your tools. You want them in their remembered place. This creates a very cozy kind of predictability. Rushlights in a bundle, tinder ready, holder on the shelf.
light available in moments. Candle calm versus rushlight practicality. A candle stands on its own more easily. It can be set in a candlestick. It burns longer. It's often cleaner, especially beeswax. Rushlights are the humble work option. Quick, cheap, made from local materials. The holder elevates them to dependable household light. So the holder is the bridge between poor light and usable light. It's an equalizer, a way for simple fuel to become safe illumination. A small museum moment, without the museum. If you've ever seen an old rushlight holder in a museum, it can look almost comedic, like a tiny iron bird or a weird clamp on legs. But in real life, it would have been as ordinary as a spoon. It would smell faintly of smoke and grease. It would be polished in places where hands touched it. The metal would be smoother at the clamp, darker near the tray. It would carry scratches from years of moving on tables and hearthstones. And all of those marks are, in a way, evidence of nights successfully managed. A sleepy ending scene. Now let's end with a simple scene meant to carry you downward into sleep. A cottage interior. The hearth is low, glowing. In the center of the table sits an iron rushlight holder. A rushlight is clamped at a careful angle. The flame is tiny, small enough that the shadows stay soft. Two people are finishing the day. One folds cloth, one checks the latch. When they pass the table, they don't worry about the flame, because the holder is stable and the drip tray is doing its job. The house feels safe. The flame shortens. Someone advances the rush once, then leaves it alone. The room becomes quieter. Words become fewer. And when the rushlight finally burns down to a stub, there is no panic. The holder remains. The tray catches the last ash, and the night turns dark the way it should, gently, naturally. That's the calm we're after. A small light properly held, a small day properly ended, and you properly allowed to sleep.
Home light is cooperative. It stays where you set it. It's protected from wind. If it goes out, you have tinder and a hearth nearby. But travel light is different. On the road, a flame has to endure motion, cold air, damp breath, sudden gusts, and the small jostles of human life. Boots on stones, carts on ruts, waves against timber, hands fumbling in gloves. Tonight, we'll follow light out of the cottage and into the night outside. How people carried flames safely, what kinds of lanterns and tricks helped it survive, and why a small portable glow could make travel feel less lonely and less risky. The problem with open flame outdoors. Outside, wind is the first bully. Even a small breeze can bend a candle flame sideways, make it smoke or extinguish it. Rain can snuff it instantly. Cold can make hands clumsy. So people did not usually walk with a bare candle in hand unless they had no choice. They used shields and enclosures. A covered flame is not only about keeping it lit, it's about keeping it from spreading panic if it falls. Lanterns for roads and yards. The simplest reliable travel light is a lantern, a flame held inside a frame that blocks wind and keeps sparks in. Candle lanterns were common because candles were portable and self-contained. The lantern might be iron or tin with vent holes, glass paneled if available, horn paneled in earlier or rural contexts, oiled cloth in very simple versions. The light is softened by panels, and that softness is actually helpful. It reduces glare and preserves night vision. You see the ground, the gate, the path immediately ahead without turning the whole world into harsh contrast. The lantern also gives you a handle and a hook. That hook matters.
You can hang the lantern at a doorway while you work with both hands. You can hang it in a stable during a quick check. You can hang it on a cart rail. Light becomes something you place, not something you wrestle. Rushlights on the move, usually not the first choice. Rushlights can be moved, but they are not ideal for travel. They burn quickly and can drip. In a holder with a tray, you might carry one across a room or to a nearby outbuilding, but for longer walks, a lantern or candle is better. Still, in truly lean times, people used what they had. A rushlight might be lit for a quick dash to the privy, or for a brief check of animals. Its shortness becomes a built-in limit. Go, do the task, come back. It's like borrowing a match from the night. Very small, very temporary. Boats and water nights. Now imagine light on water. A boat on night, river, canal, coastal inlet, needs light for finding ropes and cleats, checking nets, signaling presence, landing without breaking ankles. But wind and spray make candles dramatic, so covered lanterns mattered even more, enclosed lights that could survive sudden gusts and damp. On boats, lanterns often hang low and secure. The goal isn't to shine far, it's to keep working light steady and prevent fire from becoming a catastrophe on timber. In mist, a lantern also becomes a comfort. The halo around the flame becomes a tiny world. Rope, hands, water surface, everything you need to see right now. Road etiquette and social safety. In some places, carrying a lantern also signals legitimacy. A light means, I'm not hiding, I'm not sneaking, I'm traveling with purpose. Night travel has social rules. A lantern is like a polite introduction from a distance. It warns others and helps avoid collisions on narrow lanes. It can also reduce fear. When you see another lantern far away, it's a reminder that the night is not empty. Someone else is moving through it too. Spark and ember travel, carrying fire instead of light. Sometimes people didn't carry flame at all. They carried fire, a coal in a covered pot, an ember wrapped in ash, a slow smoldering tinder bundle. This is more about starting fire later than lighting the path now, but it's related. In winter, being able to relight a fire quickly at an outbuilding or a neighbor's home is valuable. But embers must be carried carefully, covered well, watched. Again, small attention equals safety. The calm of a portable glow. A lantern does something gentle to the mind. It narrows the world. You don't have to imagine the whole darkness. You only have to manage the circle of light. Feet go where the light goes. Hands move where the light falls. This is deeply calming, especially for nervous travelers. A lantern provides a moving boundary between you and the unknown. And that boundary can be borrowed for sleep. You don't have to solve the whole world tonight. You only have to rest within your small circle of comfort. And a sleepy ending scene. Imagine a late errand in winter. The house is warm behind you. Outside, the air is crisp. Snow crunches softly. You carry a lantern low. The flame inside sways but doesn't go out. The glass is fogged a little by your breath. The light makes a golden oval on the ground. You walk slowly to the barn, check a latch, lay new straw, listen for calm animal breathing. Then you turn back. The lantern leads you home like a small, obedient star. When you step inside, you hang the lantern on its hook. You close the door. The cold stays outside. Then you snuff the flame. Darkness becomes gentle again, and you head to bed, knowing that even in the largest dark, you carried enough light to do what needed doing. Tonight, let that be your lesson. You don't need to light everything. You only need enough light for the next step. Then you can stop walking, stop checking, stop carrying. You can rest.
At the end of an old-fashioned evening, the most important lighting skill wasn't how to make a flame. It was how to end it. Because when light is precious, you don't let it die in chaos. You don't wave your hand and scatter sparks. You don't blow hard and fill the room with smoke. You finish the day the way you finish a careful task, gently. Tonight we'll stay with that final moment, the snuffing, the saving, the quiet bedtime routine that small flames naturally taught. Why blowing out wasn't always best. Blowing out a candle feels normal today, but it can spray tiny hot soot particles, fill the room with sharp smoke, leave the wick glowing, capable of reigniting if tipped, scatter ash from a rushlight. In a home with dry straw, cloth, and wood, people learn to avoid unnecessary sparks. So many used snuffers, a little bell-shaped tool that fits over the flame and smothers it calmly. Snuffing is quiet. It feels like closing a lid. The snuffer, a small tool, a big mood. A candle snuffer turns the end of the day into a ritual. You lift it, you place it over the flame shrinks, then disappears. A thin thread of smoke rises and fades. No drama. That lack of drama is the whole point. The house becomes dark in a way that feels chosen, not accidental. And chosen darkness is restful darkness. Saving the stub. After snuffing, people saved what remained. Candle stubs go into a small box or pouch. Rushlight ends might be discarded safely, or saved if there's usable fat left. Drip pans are scraped. Holders are returned to their places. This is bedtime organization. It prevents morning inconvenience and reduces fire risk. It also gives the mind a sense of closure. Everything is put away. A tidy end is a calmer start. The bedtime route through the house. In many homes, the light takes a final journey before it goes out. Lantern to the door. Check latch. Lantern to the hearth. Check embers. Light to the water bucket. Confirm it's there. Light to the sleeping area. Blankets, children, quiet. Then, snuff. This small route is like a lullaby in actions. Each step signals safety. Each step signals completion. When the flame is finally covered, there's nothing left to do. Rushlights as automatic time limits. Rushlights taught sleeping simply by being short-lived. A rushlight burns down, and you can't pretend the night is endless. It says, finish your stitch, finish your thought, finish your day. That limit is a gift. Modern life often removes limits. Screens can glow forever, but old light insisted on a boundary, and boundaries protect sleep. Darkness as a comfort, not a failure. In a world of constant lighting, darkness can feel like something missing. In a world of rushlights and candles, darkness was normal. It was expected. It was the default state of night. So people learned not to fear it. They learned to trust it. They had the important things in place before darkness came. Water within reach. Ember banked for the morning. Door secure. Family settled. Then darkness wasn't risky. It was restful. A sleepy ending scene. Now let's end in the gentlest picture. A cottage at night. The last candle burns low. The room is quiet. The day's work is finished. Someone lifts the snuffer and covers the flame. The light vanishes softly, like a wink. A delicate smoke ribbon rises, curls once, and disappears into the darker air. The candlestick is placed back on the shelf.
The rushlight holder is set near the hearthstone. Hands wash quickly in a basin. Feet slide into bed. Outside, the world is dark and cold. Inside, the house is closed and calm. And your mind can do the same tonight. You don't have to keep shining. You don't have to keep working. You don't have to keep thinking brightly. Just cover the flame gently. Let the smoke drift away. Let the darkness arrive like a blanket. And then, in that quiet, uncomplicated night, sleep will come.
When light is easy, people spread out. They wander into separate rooms, each with their own little glow. But when light is scarce, when every candle costs work, and every rushlight costs saved fat, households learn a different kind of evening behavior. They learn light etiquette. Tonight we'll sit inside that gentle social system, how families and neighbors shared one flame, how rooms were arranged around a single pool of light, and how scarcity quietly created calm. One flame, one center. In many homes, the evening has a center, the table, the hearth, the bench, the work corner. And near that center sits the light, rushlight in a holder or a tallow candle in a stick. Because the light is limited, people naturally gather close. The room becomes smaller in a comforting way. The edges fade, the center becomes the world. This changes everything. Instead of 5 people each doing separate tasks, you get one person mending, one person carving or repairing, one person sorting food, one person telling a story, a child listening, half asleep, all within the same circle of visibility. The shared flame creates shared time. Who gets the best light? Light etiquette often includes quiet hierarchy, but not cruel. People with precise tasks, threading needles, sharpening tools, reading, cleaning wounds, get the best angle near the flame. Others take positions farther back. Children might sit close for warmth and supervision. Elders might sit close for comfort. Visitors might be placed where they can see faces. The household arranges itself without much talk, like birds finding perches. And if someone needs the light for a moment, others pause or adjust. Hush, let me see this stitch. Hold the candle a little closer. Then the flame goes back to its normal place. Sharing light builds patience. The light keeper role. In some homes, one person becomes the unofficial manager of the flame. Not a formal job, just a habit. They advance a rushlight in the holder, trim a wick, catch a drip, snuff the candle instead of blowing it, decide when it's time to switch from candle to rushlight or from rushlight to darkness. This role tends to fall to whoever is most attentive, or whoever is closest to the light, or whoever is responsible for safety. It's not control for control's sake, it's stewardship. Fire and light are valuable. Someone watches them kindly. Passing light, moving one flame between tasks. Sometimes one flame travels. You might light a rushlight at the table, then carry it carefully in the holder or on a small tray to the corner where someone is checking a latch or dressing a wound, then bring it back. Or you might move a candlestick from a work table to a bedside for a brief moment, then return it to the safer central place. The rule is simple. Don't waste light by leaving it where no one is using it. Don't risk fire by moving it unnecessarily. Move it only when needed and move it with calm. That balance is etiquette too. Darkness as a shared agreement. Here is one of the most sleep-friendly qualities of old light culture. Darkness is social. When the rushlight is nearly done or the candle has reached a certain point,
People begin to wind down together. It's not one person staying up with a bright screen while others try to sleep. It's a shared closing. A household might decide, one more small task, then we stop. Then the light burns down, the last knot is tied, the last plate is rinsed, the last story is finished. And when the light is snuffed, the day ends for everyone at once. That shared ending reduces friction. It reduces stimulation. It makes sleep a natural group rhythm. Saving the best light for important moments. Light etiquette also includes planning. If beeswax candles are rare, you save them. If tallow is limited, you count candles. If rushlights are easy but short, you decide when they're enough. So a household might say, without saying, "Tonight is rushlight night." Tonight we need a candle because the work is delicate. Tonight we use beeswax because someone important is here. These choices shape mood. Better light makes evenings feel special. Smaller light makes evenings feel simple and early. Both can be calming in different ways. A sleepy ending scene. Now let's end with a scene that feels like drifting. A cottage table, one flame, a rushlight holder or a single candle in a stick. The light is warm and small. Around it, 4 or 5 people sit quietly. Not loud, not busy in 10 directions, just calm, close work. Someone mends, someone carves an apple, someone listens, someone yawns. The flame shortens, shadows grow, voices soften. No one fights the dark because everyone understands the rule. When the light ends, the day ends. And when the flame is finally snuffed, darkness arrives like a blanket pulled up gently to the chin. That's the calm you can borrow tonight. You don't need endless light to be safe. You only need a small shared center, breathing, warmth, quiet. Then you can let the edges fade. Then you can sleep.
A rushlight is wonderful for a table. A candle is perfect for a steady corner. But some nights you have to move. To the door, to the yard, to the barn, down a passage, upstairs, across a room where the floor is uneven and the corners are full of shadows. This is where light becomes not only comfort, but navigation. Tonight we'll follow the calm logic of portable light, how people carried flames safely, how lanterns and shields protected it from wind, and how a small moving glow changed the feeling of night from dangerous to manageable. Why moving light was a different problem. Open flame is sensitive. Even a gentle draft can make it jump. Wind can blow it out. A sleeve can catch. A drip can fall. And in dark homes with wood beams, straw, and cloth, a wandering flame is always watched with quiet respect. So people invented simple solutions. Shields, enclosed lanterns, handles that keep hands away from heat, hooks that let you hang light rather than hold it. The goal wasn't brightness, it was control. Rush and candle in a lantern world. Lanterns didn't always mean oil. Many lanterns were designed to hold a candle. A candle lantern is simple. A candle protected by a frame and translucent panels, glass if available, horn or oiled material in earlier times. Even a plain candle lantern does 3 calming things: stops wind from bullying the flame, reduces spark risk, and makes the light easier to carry without tipping. And because the lantern can be hung, you can turn moving light into fixed light anywhere for a moment, on a hook by the door, on a nail in the barn, from a beam when you need both hands. Horn, glass, and the soft color of night. Lantern panels were not always common in every place, especially earlier. Some lanterns used thin horn, translucent, pale, or oiled fabric. These materials didn't make the light crystal clear. They softened it. They turned flame into a warm blur. That softness can feel very cozy, like a portable window with golden weather inside it. And it has a practical advantage. Harsh, bright light can ruin night vision. Softer lantern light lets you see your immediate steps without making darkness beyond seem even darker. The hand, the handle, and the habit of holding low. People learned how to carry lanterns in ways that made walking safer. Often the lantern is held slightly low, not at face height. That lights the path and reduces glare. It also keeps smoke and heat away. In wind, you might angle your body to shield the lantern, using your coat like a wall. It becomes a small walking ritual. Step. Lantern swings gently. Step. The light moves with you, steady as possible. Your feet find stones and thresholds. Your shoulders stay relaxed because you can see. Night tasks. Why people had to move. Even in the calmest homes, night demanded movement sometimes. Checking the latch when wind rises. Tending an animal. Fetching water. Visiting a neighbor in emergency. Carrying embers safely. Stepping outside briefly for air or necessity. Portable light turned these tasks from frightening to ordinary. It gave the night a handle, something you could hold. And when the night becomes ordinary, it becomes less anxious. Fire safety, turning flame into a managed thing. Lantern design is basically anxiety management for fire. A stable base prevents tipping. A cage prevents contact with cloth. A latch prevents accidental opening. A drip tray catches wax. A vent lets smoke escape without letting flame escape. All of these details exist to prevent sudden disasters and to make light feel trustworthy. It's the same theme we've seen with rushlight holders, wick trimming, snuffers, drip pans. Old nights were calm not because people were careless with fire, but because they were careful in small ways. Lantern calm as sleep calm. Now here's the gentle sleep connection. Portable light is also a way of closing the day. When you carry a lantern from room to room at bedtime, you're doing a sequence. Check door. Check shutters. Check embers. Check animals. Return to bed. The lantern is the moving companion to that routine. Its glow marks each step. When you finally hang it or snuff it, the routine is complete. And a completed routine tells the nervous system, we are safe. We can stop. A sleepy ending scene. Imagine a quiet winter night. A candle lantern glows in one hand. The other hand pulls a door bar into place. You can hear wind outside, but you feel protected. You walk slowly to the hearth and look at the banked coals. You adjust them once. You don't fuss. You're done. Then you carry the lantern toward the bed. The light swings softly, casting slow-moving shadows. The room beyond the lantern is dark, but it doesn't feel threatening now. You set the lantern on a hook. You cover the flame with a snuffer. A thin ribbon of smoke rises and disappears. Darkness returns gently, not suddenly. And because you have moved through the house with calm light, checking, closing, finishing, you can now let your mind do the same. Walk through your thoughts once. Close what can be closed. Hang the lantern. Snuff the day. Sleep will do the rest.
Beeswax is sweet and clean. Rushlights are quick and humble.
But in many homes, the real backbone of night lighting, the thing that made long winters manageable, was the tallow candle. Tallow is rendered animal fat. It is not romantic, and it doesn't try to be. It is practical. It turns the day's meat into the night's visibility. It smells a little. It can smoke if the wick is wrong, but it is dependable, and it can be produced in quantity when a household has the chance. Tonight we'll move slowly through the life of a tallow candle, where it comes from, why it mattered, and how it shaped the calm routines of winter evenings. Rendering, turning fat into fuel. A tallow candle starts with fat that must be clarified. Raw fat doesn't burn well. It spoils. It smells. So it's rendered, heated gently so the fat melts and separates from impurities. Bits of tissue sink or are strained out. The result is a cleaner, more stable fat that can be stored and used. In many households, rendering is done after slaughter season, often late autumn when animals are processed before deep winter. This is part of the winter preparation cycle. Meat is salted, smoked, or dried. Skins are cleaned. Bones are saved. And fat is turned into candle fuel. So the candle is, in a sense, winter stored in a solid stick. The smell and the truth of it. Tallow has a smell. Even clean tallow can carry a faint animal note. In a house already living with smoke, wool, and cooking, this wasn't shocking. It was the normal scent of survival. But people still managed it. Trimming wicks to reduce smoking. Keeping candles away from drafts that make flames flicker and soot. Saving beeswax for special nights when clean air mattered more. Using rushlights for quick tasks so a full candle wasn't wasted. This is the quiet balancing act of old homes. Using what you have wisely, not demanding perfect comfort. Making candles. Dipping and molds. Two common methods made tallow candles. Dipping. A wick string is dipped into melted tallow repeatedly. Each dip adds a thin layer. The candle grows slowly, like a tree trunk thickening. Dipping is repetitive and calming work. You dip, hang, cool, dip again. Molds. Tallow is poured into candle molds with wicks centered inside. When it cools, the candle emerges smooth and even. Both methods require patience and a warm area near the hearth. In winter, the warmth is available. In summer, tallow can be too soft. So candle making often belongs to the cold season. Another reason winter is full of quiet indoor production. The candle as a timekeeper. A tallow candle also measures time. Not precisely, but emotionally. When a candle is lit, the evening becomes structured. You don't waste it on nothing. You do chores by it. You finish tasks. You gather close. And as the candle shortens, you feel the night deepening. This is one of the hidden reasons old evenings could feel calmer. Light created natural limits. When the candle was low, you stopped. When the flame went out, the day was done. It is difficult to stay overstimulated when your only light is slowly disappearing. Drafts and drips. Tallow candles are sensitive to drafts. A flickering flame produces soot, wastes fuel, and drips unevenly. So people placed candles carefully. In sheltered corners, away from door cracks, near warm walls that reduce cold downdrafts.
sometimes behind a simple screen. Candlesticks and holders mattered too. A good holder catches drips and keeps the candle upright. Some were simple iron spikes. Some were wooden blocks. Some had drip pans like little shields. Again, calm comes from small tools. Stubs. Nothing is wasted. Stubs were saved, always. A stub could be melted into a new candle batch, used as a fire starter, carried as an emergency light on travel nights, saved for a critical moment when a long-lasting flame was needed. In a household that makes its own light, leftovers are not trash. They are future comfort. The social shape of candlelight. Candlelight gathers people in a soft circle. It smooths faces. It quiets voices. It makes the rest of the room disappear into shadow. In winter, that circle becomes the evening world. Within it, people talk quietly, mend and stitch, tell small stories, carve wood, braid cord, plan tomorrow's work. Outside the circle, the room can remain dark, which keeps the mind from scattering into too many tasks. So even a slightly smoky tallow candle can produce an atmosphere that is deeply sleep-friendly. Limited focus, warm glow, gentle time passing. A sleepy ending scene. Now imagine a long winter evening. The wind is outside. The house is shut. The hearth is low. A tallow candle burns in a simple holder on the table. The flame is steady because the wick has been trimmed. The waxy tallow body glows softly. Two people work quietly in the light. One repairs a mitten seam. The other checks a list in their mind: food, water, wood, and then stops because the check is done. Tomorrow can wait. The candle shortens. The room gets quieter. Voices fade. Movement slows. Then, at the natural end, the candle is snuffed. Not blown, but covered. Calm. The smoke thread rises once and disappears. Now the room is dark enough. Now the day is finished enough. And you can let yourself follow that same gentle boundary into sleep. Steady, honest, and warm. Then darkness, not harsh, but gentle and deserved.